Hey, welcome to the show. Today, we're going to be talking about how brands can build trust.
This one's really exciting, Min, because we are going to be using one of our own clients as an example. So I'm going to teach you some of the techniques that I do visually to build trust with my brands. And Min is going to be sharing some of the technical things that he's done to impact people's experience.
Yeah, that's awesome. Let's hear about the visual and psychological part of it.
So the three parts that we're going to be looking at is the look, the voice, and the experience, like we talked about in the last episode. And so for the look, one of the things that I like to do is create an anchor. So whether that's using colors from other famous brands in that area or other famous brands that they want to be identified with, or typefaces from those brands, you want to create a visual anchor that subconsciously tells your consumer that you are trustworthy because they associate you with these other brands or look and feel. So for one of our clients who's called Art Match, we wanted to bring in some of that anchoring technique. So their logo looks a lot like a Mondrian painting. And if you don't know Mondrian, he's a famous artist that used a lot of geometrical shapes. So we included that kind of feel in the logo. And then we also added some splashes to make it fun and vibrant. So we made it a little bit more casual than a Mondrian, but subconsciously there's that trigger to say, hey, this is a professional art company. So
That's really
that's how,
cool.
yeah, that's how
Yeah.
we did that with the look.
We'll put a link in the show notes here as well, so you can take a look at the website and you can see what you think about the way that we incorporated that into the logo.
Yeah. Then the other thing was the voice. And so we were able to achieve this by creating consistency. So when you have something that's jarring in your brand, like using the wrong fonts or using the wrong colors or using the wrong tone of voice, people lose trust for you. And that can happen without them even realizing. It's a very subconscious and quick process that happens inside the brain. So we want to make sure that there's consistency in our brands. So for Art Match on their website, they've got a very consistent flow on each page, very similar headers, very similar typeface. We made sure that everything was sized properly, but also the tone of voice is consistently light but professional. So it's just like the logo. It's got a little bit of a casual edge to it, but it's still very polished. Would you say is that how you describe their voice?
Definitely. And even the way in which the site functions is also part of that as well. So the buttons all look the same on all the pages. The backgrounds are consistent but unique on the pages. So definitely the consistency is there, even though it's not the same thing over and over again.
Yeah.
Does that make any sense?
Yeah, absolutely. So that consistency keeps everything flowing. And then the third thing, I mean, I'm going to let you speak to this, but it's about customer experience. And so we can make everything as pretty as we want and sound as nice as we want, but if it doesn't function, you're going to have some of that jarring experience. And so can you speak to that, Amin?
Absolutely. When it comes to websites, there's two big areas. There's UI and UX. UI is what we just talked about, the user interface, the buttons, the way that it flows, how it works on mobile. The user experience, UX, is similar, but it's a little bit different. The UX, for example, I can give you a few examples, is that if you're browsing through a page and there's a link that says click here to get our contact information. Well, if I click it and it opens a PDF, on my computer, it's going to ask me to download it. On my phone, depending on what device you're on, it's going to do an endless number of different things. That's a terrible user experience. You could take the same information, build a web page, and link to that page itself. Another example is also checkouts. Now, this is something that I'm often looking at and critiquing just as a developer myself, as a web developer. I know what good user experience is on checkout and what isn't. So I'll start with what isn't. Often you'll go to a website and you want to perhaps download a ebook or you want to purchase something and it forces you to go through a checkout process which is designed for material goods, physical shipped goods. So it asks you for your phone number, it asks for a shipping address and a billing address, which is completely unnecessary. And sometimes I do it just because I want that item, the electronic or virtual item badly. But it's unnecessary to ask somebody to fill all that out. Now, on the flip side is if you do strip out all of the addresses on a checkout, but then you ask for a phone number and make it mandatory. there's no need for my phone number, and I don't want to get more texts. I don't want to get more spam phone calls or spam texts. And so this is another area of user experience that can be easily fixed. Make it optional. You don't have to provide it. So often I'll just put a fake phone number in there and go on with it. But it erodes my trust in the company because I question it and wonder, why do you want my phone number? Right? I'm only downloading, an MP3 or something like that.
Yeah, if I really want something, but I don't really want to hear from the company, I've used the email address no@no.com.
Yeah.
It works
And
all
there's
the time.
That's funny. And there's also some services that are called like, one-time email or something like that, or disposable email. And you get a disposable email, you use it, you can check the inbox of that thing, but as soon as you close your browser, that email is gone. So
But how clunky of an experience.
yeah, terrible. So user experience, anchoring, user interface, and user experience are three really important ways to build trust for your brand.
Thank you for listening with us today. It's been nice to go over some of my favorite principles for the fundamentals of branding.